Welcome to CultureAlley Spanish. Hola, this is Español Lesson 3. Let's start by going over some of the phrases that we learned in the last two lessons. Hi or hello translates to hola. Good morning is buenos días. Good afternoon or evening becomes buenas tardes. And good night translates to buenas noches. Moving on, welcome translates to bienvenido or bienvenida. Sorry is lo siento. Excuse me while begging pardon is perdón. And excuse me while seeking attention translates to discúlpeme. Please becomes por favor. For saying bye, we say adiós. Thank you is gracias. And fine thank you translates to bien, gracias. You're welcome becomes de nada. And finally, nice to meet you translates to mucho gusto. Great! For learning useful and interesting conversations in Spanish, it is essential that we learn some basics which will help us with conversations in the future. So let's now move on and learn some personal pronouns and their usage. Today we will look at personal pronouns like I, she, he, you, etc., and their forms in Spanish. These will act as a foundation for us to move on to conversational lessons. Let's start with I and its plural form, we. In Spanish, I translates to yo. Try saying that, please. Yo. The plural form we translates to nosotros for males and nosotras for females. Can you try that, please? Nosotros and nosotras. The Y is pronounced like the English Y in some areas, sounding just as it would in English, while in others it takes up the sound of the English letter J. The forms of you vary in informal and formal situations. Informally, you translates to tú when referring to a single person, and vosotros or vosotras for plural. Can you try that? Tú is for singular and vosotros or vosotras for plural in informal settings. Formally, you translates to usted when referring to a single person and ustedes when referring to many. Can you try that? Usted for singular and ustedes for plural in formal settings. Very good. In Spain, the informal forms tú and vosotros or vosotras are used more often than the formal forms like usted, although the formal forms are commonly used in Latin America. Let's look at when we use tú. Usually, the singular informal form tú is used when speaking with family members, children, friends, or close acquaintances, while usted is used otherwise. If you're uncertain which one to use, it is usually better to use usted, unless the other person starts speaking to you using tú, in which case it is okay to reciprocate. Le puedo tutear, which means can I address informally with tú, is used often to seek permission to start using tú. So do you remember? We use tú for singular and vosotros or vosotras for plural in informal settings, and usted for singular and ustedes for plural in formal settings. Very good. Moving on, he translates to él, and its plural form they, when referring to a male or mixed gender group, translates to ellos. Can you try that? Él for singular, male, and ellos for plural, male or mixed group. She translates to ella, and its plural form, they, when referring to a group of females, translates to ellas. Can you try that? Ella for singular, female, and ellas for plural, female. Did you notice the pronunciation of ella? In Spanish, double L takes up the sound of Y in some areas and a soft J in others, so you'll hear both ella and ella. All right, let's review the forms of pronouns with some examples. The right pronoun for Anna would be ella, which means she in English. The pronoun to refer to Ana y Luis, which means Ana and Luis, will be ellos, because it is a mixed group. Ellos means they in English. Time for a quick grammar tip here. Did you notice the Y in Ana y Luis? It means and. It is pronounced same as the sound of the letter E in English. So can you try saying E? It is E. All right, some more examples. If we were to refer to Jose, Luis, y Mark, we should use ellos, which means they for a male group. Notice that Jose is pronounced as Jose, with a stress on E, as it is accented, almost sounding like the EI in 8. The letter J sounds like H in Spanish. So try saying Jose. It is Jose. You will encounter a lot of Joses if you travel to a Spanish-speaking country. I can promise you that. Excellent. All right. Now, if we were to refer to Ana y Maria, which means Ana and Maria, we'd say ellas, which means they and refers to a girls group. So which pronoun will you use for a girls group? That's right. You will use ellas. And which pronoun will we use for Maria y tú, which translates to Maria and you? We will use vosotras or vosotros, which is the plural and informal form of you. We put the right option as vosotras or vosotros because tú is informal. Use of vosotras or vosotros will depend on the gender of the group. If it is all females, we will use vosotras. Otherwise, we will use vosotros. Great. Which pronoun will we use for Maria y usted, which translates to Maria and you, but in the formal form? We will use ustedes, which is the plural and formal form of you. Maria y usted as a group is to be treated formally because usted is formal. Hence, they are together referred to as ustedes. Now, let's revise with some more examples, and let's assume male gender for all of these. So, for Jose, we use él, which means he. For Jose y yo, we use nosotros, which means we. Jose y Carlos will be referred to as they, which becomes ellos. Now, Jose, Carlos y yo, which means Jose, Carlos, and I, will be referred to as we, or nosotros. Did you get that right? For Carlos y tú, we use the informal form of we, which is vosotros. And for Carlos y usted, we use the formal form of we, which is ustedes. Excellent. Let's quickly go over all pronouns again. I is translated to yo, and we is translated to nosotros or nosotras. Informally, you is translated to tú for singular cases, and vosotros or vosotras for plural. Formally, you is translated to usted for singular cases, and ustedes for plural. He is translated to él, and they is translated to ellos for male gender. Similarly, she is translated to ella, and they is translated to ellas for female gender. Very good. All right, the fun part is here again. Time for our culture leaf of the day. False friends or falsos amigos are words which look or sound similar in two different languages but actually mean something else. For example, if you're embarrassed, you may feel tempted to say embarazado or embarazada because they sound so similar to the word embarrassed. However, that actually means I'm pregnant, which in the case of a man especially will make you an instant scientific wonder. The right phrase to say is me da vergüenza, so don't make that mistake. In the next lesson, we'll cover the most important building block for moving to conversations, the to be verb and its usage. Just a step away from starting to talk like you were Spanish. We hope you enjoyed your lesson today. See you at the alley for the next one.